Why does your paycheck feel like it disappears the moment it hits your bank account? Why does it feel like you work all month just to survive the next one? And here's the uncomfortable question most people are afraid to ask. If Americans are earning more than ever before, why are so many living paycheck to paycheck? Stay with me, because the answer isn't laziness, bad choices, or a lack of effort. It's something much deeper. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. Picture this. It's payday. You check your phone. The money is there. For a moment, you breathe. Then rent pulls its share. Utilities follow. Groceries swipe what's left. Gas, insurance, minimum payments. By the time the dust settles, your account looks like it did before payday. If this feels familiar, you're not alone. According to recent surveys, over half of Americans live paycheck to paycheck, including people earning six figures. Let that sink in. Before we go further, if this channel helps you understand money, survival, and the real rules behind the system, subscribe now. Now let's talk about what's really happening. We were told a simple story. Get a job, work hard, get raises, build stability. But somewhere along the way, the math stopped working. Let's start with wages. For decades, wages for most Americans have barely moved when adjusted for inflation. Meanwhile, everything else exploded. Housing didn't just get expensive, it became the single biggest paycheck killer in America. In many cities, rent alone eats 30, 40, sometimes 50% of income. Imagine running a race where half your energy is gone before the first mile. That's what rent does. Economist Robert Reich explains it clearly. The economy has grown, but most of the gains have gone to the top. Costs rise faster than wages, leaving workers squeezed. And rent isn't the only pressure. Groceries cost more every year. Healthcare costs feel like roulette. Transportation is no longer optional. Inflation quietly drains your paycheck without asking permission. Same salary, higher prices, smaller portions, less security. And here's where the tension tightens. Debt steps in to fill the gap. Credit cards don't feel dangerous when you're just trying to survive. Swipe now, deal with it later. Student loans delay adulthood. Car loans stretch paychecks thin. Interest quietly eats your future. The Federal Reserve reports that household debt in America is at record levels. Debt doesn't just take money, it takes choices. You can't save, you can't risk, you can't slow down. You're no longer earning to get ahead. You're earning to stay afloat. Now here's the part most people don't talk about. Even when income goes up, the struggle often doesn't stop. Lifestyle creep is silent, but deadly. You get a raise. You upgrade the apartment. You buy the nicer car. You subscribe to the better life. Not because you're irresponsible, but because expectations rise with income. Psychologist and behavioral economist Dan Ariely explains that humans naturally adjust spending to match perceived status and comfort. So higher income doesn't automatically mean savings. It often just means higher fixed costs. And suddenly, even a good salary feels fragile. One missed paycheck, one medical bill, one car breakdown. Back to zero. Which brings us to something even more shocking. Most Americans don't have enough savings to handle a small emergency. A $500 problem can become a financial crisis. Why? Because nobody taught them how money actually works. Schools teach calculus, but not compound interest. They teach history, but not debt traps. They teach obedience, but not long-term financial planning. Financial literacy is missing, and the cost of that ignorance is massive. Warren Buffett once said, "Do not save what is left after spending, but spend what is left after saving." Simple advice, rarely taught, rarely followed, not because people are stupid, but because survival comes first. Now let's add one more layer. Unexpected expenses. Life doesn't care about your budget. A flat tire, a medical bill, a job cut. When you're living paycheck to paycheck, there's no buffer. One hit and the whole system collapses. This is why people feel trapped. Not because they don't work hard, but because the margin for error is gone. Lower income workers suffer the most, barely covering necessities. But higher earners aren't immune. Different incomes, same anxiety, different lifestyles, same fragility. Economist Joseph Stiglitz sums it up perfectly. We've built an economy where insecurity is the norm, not the exception. So let's answer the question we started with. Why do Americans live paycheck to paycheck? Because wages stagnated, because costs exploded, because debt filled the gap, because financial education failed, because lifestyle inflation erased progress, because emergencies arrive uninvited. This isn't a personal failure, it's a systemic squeeze, and understanding that matters, because shame keeps people silent. But clarity creates power. When you see the system clearly, you stop blaming yourself. You start asking better questions. You make smarter decisions. You focus on leverage, not just labor. Hard work still matters. Still. But in today's economy, hard work without strategy is like running on a treadmill. Exhausting, impressive, and going nowhere. So if this video helped you understand your situation better, share it. If it made you feel seen, subscribe. Because the more people understand why they're struggling, the harder it becomes to pretend this is normal. Let me leave you with this thought. Living paycheck to paycheck isn't about how much you make. It's about how the system is designed. And once you see that, you stop feeling broken.